When Moldova is talked about in the news lately, it's been almost entirely in the context of its ongoing ethnic tension with the pseudo-Russian-backed Transnistrian Republic in the context of the Ukrainian conflict.
However, in the context of the modern Republic of Moldova, there was a parallel conflict that shows a model of how ethnic conflict can be resolved not just in Moldova, but around the world. Before we get into the Gagauzia Crisis, we first need to get an idea of who the Gagauts people are. The Gagauts are a Turkic Oghuz people, which speak a language similar to Turkish or Turkmeni, but they themselves have been Christian Orthodox for as long as they've been recorded, which implies that they didn't come directly from Turkey, but likely independently migrated from the steppes in the Middle Ages, spiritually following the Moscow Patriarch and almost all being bilingual Russian Gagauz speakers. The ethnic group has developed a culture far more tied to Russian and Ukrainian characteristics, which are in contrast to the majority Romanian-speaking Moldovans.
Well, if you're already interested in the subject, you likely have some idea about the fall of the USSR. It is particularly relevant to mention the rise of nationalist movements across the country's Union republics, also known as Soviet Socialist Republics or SSRs. The late 1980s would see the establishment of nationalist parties in the local governments of the three Baltic republics, each known as Popular Front of X-Country. These parties would eventually in 1988 bring the status of their republics' governments to supersede that of the unions, elevate their language to recognized status, and return the use of their pre-communist flags and anthems. These political overtures would inspire common movements throughout the Union's SSRs. At the start of the 1990s, many SSRs, including those outside the Baltic, had landslide elections where ethnic nationalist parties took power. In the Moldovan SSR in particular, the Popular Front of Moldova won. With the Socialist Republic of Romania dissolved just a few months earlier, the primary hope of the ethnic Romanian Moldovan majority in power was reunification with Romania, which now seemed within reach. The factors of the new nationalist political party in power, the end of the Nicolae Ceausescu regime in Romania, and the establishment of Romanian as an official language led to the Gagauzia national movement to declare itself an independent Soviet Socialist Republic within the USSR in hopes of staying with the USSR on August the 19th in the year 1990. In the ethnic Russo-Ukrainian region of Transnistria, the local pro-Soviet faction would declare their own SSR in the following month. Things would continue to simmer for exactly a year until the failed USSR August coup led to the local leaders to believe that the dissolution of the Soviet Union was imminent.
On the anniversary of their previous declaration on the 19th of August, the Gagauz national movement under Stepan Topol and Kamrat would declare the independent Republic of Gagauzia 7 days before Moldova's declaration of independence. 1 month later, in the Transnistrian region, the Pridnestrovian Moldovan Republic would declare its independence as well. Fortunately for the Gagauts, the leftover Soviet ground forces in their region would protect the status quo between the government and the local Moldovan police, unlike in Transnistria, where remnants of the 14th Soviet Guard Army would break out into skirmishes with the Moldovan authorities. For 2 years, Moldova was bogged down in a war with the Transnistrian secessionist state, while Gagauzia sat on the back burner. Following the Transnistrian conflict, Moldovans were exhausted with the idea of ethnic tension, while the Gagauzia Republic remained utterly dependent on Moldova for commerce, basic goods, and infrastructure as a landlocked partial enclave. Unlike Transnistria, the region of Gagauzia's politicians remained in the parliament of Moldova, where the leaders of the republic were able to represent themselves to the Moldovan government, which became more and more welcoming to the idea of minority autonomy. Almost 3 years into the crisis in February 1994, the president of Moldova, Mircea Snauger, announced he was in favor of autonomy for Gagauzia, and later that year, the parliament would adopt a new constitution that would allow the Gagauzian people a right to legal secession if Moldova would join Romania, and promise them status as an autonomous region in the country. On the 23rd of December 1994, the communes of Moldova with 50% or more ethnic Gagauts took referendums to join the new autonomous region, or stay a part of Moldova, where all that was required was a simple majority be either way. The new autonomous region would have an elected governor and even its own local parliament, thus ending the Gagauzia Crisis entirely. In Gagauzia today, the anniversary of this is even still celebrated as a holiday. Given the happy ending of the Gagauzia Crisis and the pragmatic way it was resolved by the Moldovan government, this resolution is seen by many as a model on how to solve ethnic conflict in the modern world as a whole. Some would say that what made this such a successful series of events was that the Moldovan government simply just listened to the interests of the minority group in tension and looked for the most practical ways to meet everyone's expectations. It could be said that in regions where tensions have more complicated histories and diversity of opinions, that parties involved would inevitably have too many conflicting and overlapping desires to reach a solution such as this. Well, this being all said, what do you think of the Gagauzia Crisis and how it was solved? Let us know in the comments.